Hey everybody, welcome back to another tutorial. So in this tutorial, we are not going to be going over some specific thing, but we are going to be going over the basics to Scratch. So let's just kind of get into it real quick. And yeah, alright. So this tutorial is for people who are newer to Scratch, or if you just want to refresh or a little, refreshment on the basics. This tutorial is for you. So let's get started. Oh, something just fell off my desk. Oh, that's on me. Okay, so we're going to start off with the basics. So once you create your Scratch project, you will start off with one sprite. And so a sprite is, I don't know how to. It's like a game object. It's something you can put scripts into. You can create different costumes for your sprite and manipulate its code to make it do different things. So in the default sprite that you start with, it's the Scratch Cat. So it's basically the little Scratch mascot. So you have two costumes. So the costumes are stored inside the sprite. Um, one being the default sprite until you change it otherwise, which we will also get into. So if you see, we kind of have a basic walking script here. So let's say we want to get it to move. Well, we're going to start with when flag is clicked. The flag is clicked function detects and runs the second this green flag is clicked. And this is the start, and this is the stop. And this pause button, most of you won't have it. It's an add-on I added to Scratch, so just ignore the pause. So, when I press the flag, nothing happens because we don't have any other script. So let's say we want to move our Scratch Cat. Well, we can say move 10 steps. So now, every time I press the flag, it's going to move 10 steps. And now an alternative for that could be change X by 10. So, what is the key difference between change X by and move 10 steps? So, moving by steps will move it in whatever direction it is facing. So, let's say I want to face it this way. And now if I say move 10 steps, it's going to go in that direction. And so because of this, we will not have to change the Y or the X, and it will just automatically go whichever way you want it to. So I'm going to set the direction back to 90. You can do this, and so the different direction things are, this is rotating all around, so you can go any direction you want. And now we have left and right, so you can only rotate it left and right. And so it'll be facing one of two directions, either right or either left. And then do not rotate, of course, just what it sounds like. It will not rotate. Okay, so there are your directions. So if you see this, we have X and Y. What are these exactly? Well, these are the coordinates, or the position of our sprite. And so every time you move your sprite, these parameters change. And so if you change the X to 0 and the Y to 0, the sprite will be directly in the middle of the canvas, which is exactly what you want. So you can manipulate these parameters by using the change X by and the change Y by. So moving 10 steps obviously isn't very smooth, but let's say you want it to be smooth. Well, first off, when we press the flag, it keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going, and there's no way to actually get it back. So what you're going to want to do first is you will do, when flag is clicked, go 2 and then 0, 0. So now, every time the flag is clicked, it is going to go right here, and then it is going to move 10 steps. And obviously you can't see that because it's really quick. So how should we move the cat? Well, first we're going to go over some of the different things in motion, and then we'll figure out what can we use to do this. Okay, so we know what move 10 steps is. Okay, and now we have turn 15 degrees right, turn 15 degrees left. So just what it sounds like, you will be able to turn the cat 15 degrees. You can of course change this to whatever degree you want. Real quickly, I'm going to reset that. And yes, so basically this will rotate it by a certain amount. Of course, if you have the direction set to left and right only, it'll wait until you get to a certain degree until it'll start going again. Okay, so next you have go to random position, or you can choose something else. So going to a random position is exactly what it sounds like. Each time this is run, it will go to a random position. So maybe, what if we were to do this? What if we were to set it to go to a random position when the flag is clicked? Well, that is exactly what it's going to do, because that's what we told it to do. And that is how you can manipulate the scripts to make your character do what you want it to do. Or you can make it go to mouse pointer. Now, because my mouse is off the screen or out of the canvas, it's not going to be able to come over here, because you can't get it over here. But what if we wanted it to completely follow my mouse pointer? Well, we are going to get into that in a later episode maybe, but if you already know how, it's kind of easy. Forever, and then go to mouse pointer, and now it will always follow my mouse pointer. We're not going to get into the forever loop yet, because we are still going to work on some motion. Alright, so inside of this go to block, not the one that says go to X and go to Y, and you can change the parameter, this will specifically go to whatever you choose it to go to. So if I were to create another sprite and just call it Sprite 2, I can now go to my code and tell it to go to Sprite 2, and it will go wherever my Sprite 2 is. And because there's no costume right now, and because it's at the very middle of the screen, that's all it's going to do. So right now, because I deleted it, it is gone, and so it's not going to really do anything. But yeah, that's how you can get it to go to random position. Now, let's see here. Obviously, we know this. Go to X and go to Y. Now, what about this glide? It's very similar to the go to, but let's just take a look at what glide will do. What glide will do is it will smoothly get your character into whatever position you want. So if I'm telling it, hey, go to a random position, but I want you to glide there, that's exactly what it's going to do. And you can choose how fast it goes. So the longer, the higher this value is right here, the slower it's going to take. So it's going to take 5 seconds to get to that random position that it chooses. Maybe I want it to take, I don't know, 0.2 seconds. Boom, fast. It's going to keep going faster and faster. And it will take exactly the time that you say in this parameter here to get to that position. So what about if we were to do go to, or not go to, but glide to, and then we set it to glide to, I don't know, middle of the screen, 0, 0. That is what it's going to do. So much like the go to, it will get you to wherever you want it to. The only difference is here it will smoothly get you there, whereas here will instantly, boom, teleport. So that's the key difference. Next we have the point and direction block. Now what is point and direction? So it's a lot like the turn 15 degrees. Again, this one turns it right by 15 degrees and turns it left by 15 degrees. Now, the difference between these is that this will point it in the very specific direction instead of changing it by a specific degree. So if I want it to point in the direction -90, what it will do is point in the exact opposite. So it will now be upside down. Now, completely upright is 90 degrees, which means negative 90 would be the opposite. So if I were to set this sprite to only rotate left and right, if I were to set it to be negative 90 degrees, and then I click on it, what it's going to do is point in the other direction. So real quickly, I'm going to set it back to 90, and then I'm going to make sure this is back to all around. So that's what that'll do. Okay. So, after that, we have point towards. So what is this? Again, much like the point and direction, this will choose where you want to point. Okay? It's kind of like this glide to and then random position or go to random position. You get to choose an object or some kind of thing to point towards. And now, of course, it has to be in your project or it's not going to be able to. So if I'm telling it to point towards the mouse pointer and my mouse is pointing over here, that's exactly what it's going to do. So that's what is similar about these things here. Again, we have our change x by 10. So what this is going to do is it's not going to set our x to 10, but it's going to change it by 10. So if my value or my x position is currently 10, it's going to add 10 onto that. And so, boom, there you go. Now, what if I wanted it to move backwards? Because right now, all we're doing is going forwards. What you can do is set it to the negative value. So negative 10 will now turn it backwards. So after that, we have set x2. And so this is a lot like going to the certain x position here that you want it to. So this will set the x position to whatever you want without controlling the y position. Next, we have the change y by. So much like the change x by, it's going to change our y by a certain value. So here we are going up, and now if I want it to go back down, we can do this. Alright, I'm going to set that back to 10 real quick. Alright, and after that, we now have the set y2. So again, like our set x2, this will completely teleport and change the y position to whatever you have it without affecting the x position at all. So, yep. Now we have this if on edge bounce. So this is a little tricky. I thought that they should have some kind of variable to detect if it's on the edge, but no, this is just an entire block that detects if it's on the edge. So if it's touching the edge of the canvas, what it's going to do is bounce you, and it'll bounce you off of the edge. And so as you can see, it is also rotating me in a different direction based on my movement. So if I hit it up like this, it's going to hit me down. Now if I come over here and hit it towards on this angle, it's going to hit me back. And now that I'm in a corner, if I do it again, boom, back in that direction. So that's what this is. It'll detect if you're on the edge, and if you are, it'll bounce. Now there's no true or false to it, so it's not like a variable or anything. It's just instantly, if you're on the edge, bounce. Alright, so I'm going to set my rotation back to 90, and I'm going to send this guy right back to 0, 0. Okay, after if on edge bounce, we now have set rotation style, left, right. So what this is, it is a lot like, well actually it's exactly like this. So you see here we have our all around, left, right, and don't rotate. All this is a block or a script that can control that so that you don't have to do it here. So if in a certain point in your game you want to change it, you will use this block. So all around, don't rotate, left, right. Okay. After that, we now have these variables. We call these variables because they aren't code. These are not blocks of code that will do something, but they contain the value of a number or a letter or anything. Anything like that's a variable. It will contain the value of something else, so it's a holder. So because our x position right now is 0, this will come back as 0, and the same for the Y position. So now if you want it to change, what maybe you want to, I don't know, I don't know, you know what, maybe you want to change the X by your X position. So if my X position right now is 10, it's going to change my X by 10. And now that it's 40, it's going to change it by 40, and it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger until it's right here off the screen. So now we have our Y position. Same thing. You can also, in like if statements, we'll get into that later, you can also detect if your X or Y position is in a certain area. And next you have your direction. So this is just like any of these other variables, only it'll detect the direction you're facing. Obviously this is in a 90-degree direction, which is why this will say 90. So thank you guys for watching this tutorial. We got through the basics, the motion. In our next tutorial, we will get into looks, and then we'll go to sound, and we'll move on from there. So if you guys found this helpful, and you want to see some more tutorials, be sure to subscribe, and yeah, I will see you guys later. Bye.